The opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of the staff or the management or the sponsors. The sponsors of the Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Monday edition of the Power Hour. Just a little tongue-in-cheek stuff going on there. Anybody living near an airport can relate to that. And that's what we're going to be talking about a little bit today. This is Dave Onclois.
And Joyce Riley. And the subject is going to be the purpose of chemtrail aerosol. A.C. Griffith was associated with the National Security Agency. He carried a top-secret clearance, a cryptographic clearance, and in more recent times he was associated with the Central Intelligence Agency operations. He was married to a lady lawyer, judge, and his father-in-law was the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Virginia. He is with us today, and we want to say thank you very much, A.C. Griffith, for joining us to talk about the purpose of chemtrail aerosol. Thank you, sir, for joining us on the Power Hour today.
Thank you, Joyce. It's indeed a pleasure to be with you today.
Well, I must tell you, I think the listeners are going to get more today than they probably imagined, given the fact that you have some information that most people do not have access to, and probably information we would just as soon not know. However, knowledge is power, and we thank you for joining us, and I know that you have listened to the Power Hour in the past and have been very supportive of the activities and providing information to the Power Hour. Let's talk just as much as you want to talk about what your past experience was all about, sir.
I spent a couple days making talking points to make a guide map of how to present this to you. It is such a big topic. It's very difficult to know where to grab it to begin. Several years ago, I got a telephone call from Mike Blair at the Spotlight newspaper in Washington, now called the American Free Press. He asked me to help work with him on the story of the white trails coming out of the airplanes. And time is going by, I guess that was 8 or 9 years ago. We actually got inside the program. We're the only people in the world that actually got inside of that program.
When you say you got inside that program,
the aerosol program, the chemtrail program,
you're talking about information on the inside of this program.
I'm talking about actually getting inside the program at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base where it's being managed.
Wow!
And we actually got into some of the people that were dissatisfied from within the program, and they divulged a lot of the acronyms and the purpose of the program and so on. And that's the only way that anybody could ever have broken the secrecy of this program.
Okay.
We know that people have died over this program. People have been hit to keep them quiet. And we know that other things have happened to keep people in this program. One of the key people that designed the aerosol, the barium salt aerosol, was set up by people in the Reagan administration, and he's now sitting in federal penitentiary. They still go to him to ask him questions, but yet he is in the prison. That is a little unnerving, isn't it?
Yes, it is, absolutely.
That the man that designed the barium salt aerosol is sitting in a prison.
Well, it would sort of make sense. Now, before we go any further, let's just define what you believe to be the aerosol crime issue. I mean, just what is this aerosol that we're discussing? I mean, it comes out of aircraft, we believe, or we know, and that is the basis of a program that is set up to not do good to this country, but probably do harm. Now, I remember we had a couple of people on the program recently. You contacted me after that, and you said, Joyce, some of the information was accurate, some of it was inaccurate. But what we do know is there's something in the skies that should not be there.
The white trail is not coming out of the engines. It's coming out of aerosol units on the aircraft. In the very beginning, the early days, the aircraft were flying relatively low, 10,000 feet or below, and they were developing the program. They were mostly contract aircraft, mostly CIA aircraft. Now the program has been expanded, and commercial airliners have been outfitted with aerosol units that are controlled through computer systems and satellites to dispense a barium salt mixture. It's a mixture of barium salt, not coming out of the engine. It's coming out of aerosols. And we have checked on information. We do confirm that the name of the project is Project Cloverleaf in the aircraft industry. It is very secretive. It is the most secretive thing I have ever encountered. People have died over this, talking about it. I listened to your broadcast just a few minutes ago. The general was on saying that he is very patriotic and he feels compelled to speak out, and that's exactly the same way I feel. I am very patriotic. I was born before the Second World War. I'm an old guy, and I come from that generation and that mindset. This is my country, and I see my country being dissolved. My country is being destroyed right in front of my eyes, and the people are being hurt, and that's why I consented to be on your radio program today. I know you will remember that you've asked me many times to do this, and I've been very reluctant, but it's time. It's time to speak out and go public with these things.
Well, that is correct. I have asked AC to be on this program many, many times, and you do this, I think, with a considerable amount of risk to your own life, do you not?
Yes, that's right.
So there are people who have lost their lives, people who are now in prison as a result of divulging this information. Now, you were, as you say, very patriotic. You still are very patriotic, and you were doing this out of patriotism, out of love for your country.
As I know you are.
That's correct. That's correct.
You know, Joyce, I'm in Richmond, Virginia, just a few miles from the spot that Patrick Henry stood in 1775. He was talking to Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, George Wythe, and others in St. John's Church. And they were talking about the oppression coming from England at the time. And he was a little put out at them for not deciding a course. And he concluded his speech to them with, "I know not what course others may choose, but as for me, give me liberty or give me death." And I think we're approaching a time like that. Mm-hmm. Don't you?
Oh, absolutely. There's no question in my mind. I talked with you about a discussion I had with a military member who admitted to me, well, first of all, he did not believe that there was such a program. However, he was stationed at one of the bases where I knew some of the operations were taking place on this aerosol clouding or aerosol dispersion or whatever you want to call it. And I had him go to the person who we knew was in charge at that base at that time. And he did, in fact, confirm that the person that admitted to some of the information that we're about to talk about here, or that some of the information regarding this program. And he was so disillusioned when I talked with this military officer. He said, "I am leaving the military, Joyce. I did not believe you when you told me about Gulf War illness." And then he said, "I became ill. Then I found out the doxycycline was true. And then now I have found out about this spraying issue." And he said, "I can no longer serve the military." Well, let's talk about this subject of what the aerosol program is and how you were able to obtain this information.
First, Joyce, if you will allow me, let me paint a picture, a time picture. At first, you may think it's not related, but you will see that it is related. So if you will indulge me just a minute, let me go back to the Kennedy assassination. Do you remember Jim Garrison in New Orleans, the DA down there, fingered 27 people as being part of the plot to kill the president? Mm-hmm. Carlos Marcello was the major drug dealer in New Orleans, and his people were involved. Now, one of the people associated was a man named Barry Seals. He was a drug dealer and later a CIA operative. The FBI report on Carlos Marcello, the big drug dealer and underworld character, the FBI report said he made his money selling tomatoes and real estate, and that was the FBI evaluation of the number one drug dealer. Now, remember Barry Seals. Now, fast forward to the Watergate break-in in 1972. Now, I was at the Watergate. The CIA had a rather large international operation there under a corporate name. Then they had other foundations under that and so on. By the way, did you know the Catholic Church built the Watergate complex as a real estate investment? By the way, did you know the Catholic Church built the Watergate complex as a real estate investment? And they named the Watergate for the dam that went across the Potomac River at that time. It was a Watergate. Now, in the Watergate, there were apartments, condominiums, and office section. 3 sections. And inside of the office section was the Democratic National Committee. The FBI found a link between the Democratic National Committee and the White House and a call girl operation, prostitution, that was across the street from the Watergate. I think it was the Plaza condominiums. I'm not sure. I don't remember that. But it was right next to the Holiday Inn that was across the street. The FBI wanted to go in to the Democratic National Committee and find out what they knew. The CIA was also very interested in the breach of security between the prostitutes and the White House. That's how E. Howard Hunt got recruited and Gordon Liddy got recruited to go in there, and they called themselves the Plumbers. They were going to go into the Democratic National Committee to stop the leak, the Plumbers. So here you had the CIA, the FBI, wanting to do this, and the key man was John Dean III.
John Dean. We're going to come right back after this 4-minute break. Our guest today is A.C. Griffith, and we're going to see how this leads into the aerosol crime issue, aerosol program of some sorts that the U.S. government has, and it has already killed people. We'll be right back after this 4-minute break with A.C. Griffith. Stay tuned.
All right, here we go, folks. Welcome back to the Monday edition of the Power Hour. Coming up on 25 minutes past the hour, whatever hour you're sitting in. And, folks, hold on to your hat. You know, there are a lot of folks out there that have been talking about this chemtrail, contrail issue for, 10, 12 years, at least that. And now we're just now starting to get some real information that's coming out. Welcome back to the Power Hour. This is Dave.
And Joyce. And our guest today is A.C. Griffith. As I told you earlier, he had the highest clearances. He was involved with the CIA. He is doing what he believes needs to be done today by telling the truth about these aerosol, whatever you want to call them. What is this aerosol mixture and why? Of course, that's the big question. He was associated with the Central Intelligence Agency operations, and as I said, he had the National Security Agency top clearance, cryptographic clearance. He joins us today from Richmond, Virginia. Thank you again, A.C. Griffith, for joining us. Now, you are linking together Watergate with what's happening today. I find that an interesting transection here.
I wanted to paint a picture of the background of the people and what the people are capable of and how it works. If you look at the bottom line of anything, you're just going to see the bottom line. But if you have an understanding of the nature and how things operate and how agencies operate, that's something that most people have no clue about, and they wouldn't believe it if you told them. But let me go back. We're running out of time, so I'm going to talk. You talk slow, and I'll talk fast, Joyce. I told Joyce earlier to talk slow to me today, so that was that joke.
That was the only caveat. If I come on the show, you have to talk slow. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so the Watergate thing was about the prostitution and the connection to the White House, and the White House connection was John Dean III. He was the counsel to the president. He was the president's lawyer. Well, John Dean had an affair going with one of the girls. Maureen Elizabeth Kane Owen Benner was her name. Later married the girl, and her name now is Maureen Elizabeth Kane Owen Benner Dean. So John Dean at the White House wanted to protect her. So he turned on Liddy and E. Howard Hunt and all the people. He even turned on the president. And they bought his testimony against the president. And that kind of in a nutshell, oversimplified, of course, is how Nixon was brought down. Nixon came into the game later. He probably had actually little to do with the actual manipulation. He was manipulated into that. And the CIA was involved in that, and the FBI was involved in it. Fast forward again to the Iranian-Contra. The body count, with the Clinton body count in Mena Airport, Arkansas, was about 75 people that was suicided. The CIA operated that whole thing at the Mena Airport. They put in Rich Mountain Aviation Company, a CIA front, and brought aircraft in from all over the world for refurbishing. Barry Seals showed up again. You remember Barry Seals now with the Kennedy thing and Carlos Marcello, the drug dealer. Barry Seal got a KC-123 out of Wright-Patterson, running guns to South America and drugs back. They were dealing at hundreds of tons of drugs. It was so many drugs, it was like freight trains loaded with drugs. And 75 people that got in the way were taken out, including Vince Foster and all those people. Noticed an interesting thing. Admiral Jeremiah Border, he was the chief of naval operations. He was a Jewish man. He enlisted in the Navy when he was 17 years old, stayed an enlisted man for 6 years, and then went up in the ranks to become the #1 naval officer for the United States Navy. He was chief of naval operations. Well, unexpectedly one night he decided to suicide himself in his house, and he shot himself twice in the chest with a shotgun.
That's quite a feat.
Yes, it is. Now, he was the chief of naval operations, and he opposed the chemtrail project. Then the chemtrail project started after Admiral Borda was replaced. Jeremiah Borda. He was a dedicated man. He was a sincere man. He was a good man. So you're seeing a picture of how this thing operates. The CIA finances projects with monies earned elsewhere. The monies that go into CIA projects don't necessarily come out of congressional appropriations. And I will tell you that the Congress as a whole is completely oblivious to the aerosol program. They are afraid to ask. I had an meeting with the administrative aide of a congressman. He drove all the way to Richmond from Washington to meet with me. And we spent about an hour. I gave him a complete overview presentation. He looked at me, stood up, and he said, "What do you expect me to do, Griff? They would lie to me, too." That was his exact words. And I shook his hand and hugged the secretary and left. And that was it. That tells me that the Congress, I know for a fact the Congress is out of the loop. Dennis Kucinich.
Okay, we're going to come back from this break. We've got a 3-minute break, then I'm going to let him run with it for 20 minutes. You're hearing from A.C. Griffith here today, and the subject is the purpose of chemtrail aerosols. Ladies and gentlemen, you're getting an earful, and you might want to re-listen tonight on Channel 152 XM Radio. We'll be right back. 3 minutes. We're talking to A.C. Griffith today. He is an individual who has taken it's been a lot of time that he has done in research of this subject, years and years of research. He was associated with the National Security Agency, had a top-secret cryptographic clearance, and he joins us today to help us understand what is in those chemtrail aerosols. And thank you very much again, AC, for joining us. Well, let's talk about the chemtrail aerosols, because you did significant research, got into the program itself. And, sir, what did you learn?
Not that simple, Joyce. It's a very complicated thing. You must know the people. You must know what they're capable of. You must know their operation, their intent. You must realize that you're dealing with people with no faces that haven't been elected. You don't know who they are. You don't know what they're putting in those aircraft. The security on the substance going into the aircraft, there's very little security on that. Whatever somebody puts in the aircraft is going to come out of the aircraft. That's a real concern. The Environmental Protection Agency has been told to keep their nose out of it. On the state levels, the state various here in Virginia, it's the Department of Environmental Quality. I was told by high people in that they were told to leave it alone. Don't look at it. Don't look at the air quality when it comes to the aerosols. Look at talk about ozone levels and things like that.
Well, you mentioned that you had talked to one congressman, and then you mentioned Representative Kucinich as we were going to the break.
Yes, he introduced H.R. 2799, I believe that was it, and it was he was called aside and told to take it out, and he did, and he got very quiet about it. I can't tell you enough that this is a very dangerous thing to get into. It's very dangerous to talk about this. As long as people talk about the normal stuff on the internet, they're okay. The agencies have been told to leave this alone. Now, as in the Watergate and some of these other projects that I mentioned, everybody involved thought they were doing it for some reason, some different reason. They didn't know what it was about. Everybody was going in different directions, and that's the same thing. They didn't know what it was about. Everybody was going in different directions, and that's the same thing we find here in the aerosol program. The pilots probably don't know what they're doing. The crews that put it in, they have no idea what it was for. We believe that it was sold to governments as global warming fix. We believe that, but it wasn't. Here's what it was about. It was about a sub-program, making a sub-program in a Navy program called the Variable Terrain Radio Parabolic Equation, VTRPE, Function over Land Terrain. That's what it's about. That is what it's about. You've heard all kinds of explanations for 7 or 8 years, but it's for the VTRPE. And it's part of the Radio Frequency Mission Planner. It's a system. It's a computer system, RFMP, Radio Frequency Mission Planner, and the VTRPE programs are a sub-program within that system. And it was first put on the Enterprise and aircraft carriers for battlefield imaging. The system would not work over land terrain adequately, or accurately rather, without creating a ducting of radio waves over land terrain, and they use the mixture of barium salt to do that. And that enables the whole system to function. It is the system that the United States uses in Afghanistan and Iraq, and probably will use in Iran and some of the other applications. And that's what it's about. It's about the VTRPE. I see we're running out of time, and there's several things that I've just got to mention to you. Now, within the Navy program, we see DARPA, Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, and they're into biologicals, and that's where Clifford shines. He has identified many very harmful biologicals coming out of the aerosols.
And, of course, you're speaking of Clifford Carnicom, just so people are aware. And that's carnicom.com. That's CARNICOM.com.
We have the greatest admiration for Clifford, and we have admiration for Scott the weatherman, too. Scott Stevens, he's a man of conviction. We admire him for that.
Yes.
So DARPA is involved, and DARPA is involved in spraying cities. We caught them spraying Asheville, North Carolina several years ago with a substance called BCTP, developed under one of their contracts at the University of Michigan, and it's an anti-anthrax. So that was one of the first that we saw coming out of the aircraft. They brought them in and sprayed the city. Strange, Art Bell's mother lived in Asheville, North Carolina, and he talked about it on the air, although he didn't fully understand it. Now, here's the killer. Here's the big one. Recently, we've come upon another danger in the atmosphere over America. It has nothing to do necessarily with the Navy VTRPE or the aerosoling. It is an attack on North American weather. The weather is being manipulated from outside of the country. The hurricane that slammed into New Orleans was guided in there. So was the Hurricane Rita and Gaston and some of the others. We believe that the Russian systems that have been developed since the late 50s, early 60s in Russia is the ultimate weapon, and we have no defenses against it. It's called scalar. That's a modern name for the systems. Scalar weapons. There are 3 divisions of scalar coming against America. One is called energetics, and one is called bioenergetics, and one is called psychoenergetics. The psycho function can actually manipulate mind, thoughts, personalities, and cause astronaut Lisa to wear a diaper driving across the country.
Really?
That kind of thing, yes. There was an admiral on an aircraft recently that stood up and said to everybody on the plane that he had smallpox, and they took him off the plane. He was in medicine. That was psychoenergetics. It's functions on the mind and mind functions. You can actually insert another personality in the person. The bio comes against living bodies, their biochemistry. And the energetics can come against the Challenger, the Columbia, the Thresher submarine, where 129 men died. Those were, we believe, we are sure they were attacks by Russian scalar weapons. They're actually interferometer transmitters used in an interferometer way with 2 transmitters intersecting over North America. That's
now, just
what's happening.
For those that don't understand scalar, would you define the scalar or tell us what scalar weaponry is?
It's very complicated. If I read you the definition, you still wouldn't know. Mm-hmm. But on the website linked with you, the mysterious booms, you will find a link to Tom Bearden, Colonel Bearden in Huntsville. He defines all of that and tells quite a story about it. Tom Bearden has been the Tesla guru for many years. He is highly respected. He is a brilliant man and a great American.
Mm-hmm. And he is speaking out also. Or he has in the past.
He has in the past, yes.
Right, he is not speaking out now.
We'll talk about that off the air. I don't want to get people hurt. This is a very dangerous thing to get into. I can't stress that enough. The scalar transmitters in Russia are controlled by the Federal Security Service. It's abbreviated FSB, but it actually stands for the Federal Security Service, the old KGB, and not necessarily under the direct control of the Russian government. It's quite a story to this. The woodpecker transmitters that have been going on for 25, 30 years over North America are part of the weapons system coming against North America. We're experiencing and hearing from people all over the country that are experiencing dizzy spells, mm-hmm. and they fall forward to the left. They're dizzy, forward to the left. I'm sure many of your listeners right now are saying, my God, that's happened to me. Well, it's happening all over the country, and that is the manifestation of these scalar weapon systems. The town in Kansas was devastated as a result of guiding and manufacturing that storm. Now, that's going to increase in the rest of this year. The hurricanes were suppressed last year, but hopefully the United States science community will be able to suppress them again. That is the real threat against us right now, is the Russian. Now, other countries have these weapon systems. We are late coming up to speed. We do not have adequate defenses against them right now. I will tell you that Israel stood between the United States and Russia with its defenses. Israel protected the United States on several occasions when we got right down to the line. There's been some white knuckle time with this, and the people are completely oblivious to it. But again, we're sure that the Challenger was taken down, and other aircraft, other commercial aircraft on the West Coast. Alaskan Airlines has been having a lot of trouble running into these scalar fields, but nobody knows about it. Back when I was like 19 years old, I first went into the service. We were in the Philippines, and in intelligence, we would penetrate Chinese airspace on a regular basis. We would penetrate the space to see how they would react, and we would listen to their communications, their military, and we would know something about their defenses. Well, the Russians are doing the very same thing to us right now, and we're not responding. It's as though we have no idea what's going on. And each time that happens, they become more confident. If we go into Iran, God only knows what's going to happen. But if we don't go into Iran, God only knows what's going to happen to us. So I can see some real desperate times ahead. We also know in the study of this, as I told you earlier, when we started looking at this, there was one door, and then all of a sudden we saw 2 doors, then 4 doors, then 8 doors, and 16 doors, and 32 doors to explore, and that's why it's taken all of these years to do that. We know that atomic devices have been pre-positioned in American cities. We know that Israel pre-positioned atomic devices in Russian cities. So there's some standoff here, but we are in a desperate time, and people are oblivious to it.
Well, I'm afraid that you're right on the oblivious part, because people cannot believe that this country would do that because of the facade of, oh, we care about your freedom and we're there for you, and we want to provide the most strong military to protect you. And they hate freedom, and that's why they're after us. And all these phony things that we have been fed. But, you know, there is a paper that was done, and I really appreciate receiving this. It was a thesis by Matthew Doggett that, as I understand, is not on the Internet, about about the documentation behind what you're talking about here with respect to this project. And I just want to say, ladies and gentlemen, it's called an atmospheric sensitivity and validation study of the variable terrain radio parabolic equation model, or the VTRPE, as A.C. Griffith was just discussing. Now, can you just help us understand that? That's a big title, Atmospheric Sensitivity and Validation Study of the Variable Terrain Radio Parabolic Equation Model. What is, sir, and I have to, excuse me for asking this, but what is VTRPE?
It is a sub-program, a computer program within the Radio Frequency Mission Planner system that's key to battlefield operations. It is key. We cannot fight wars without that. We've come to that. As in World War II, you put a man in the field with a gun and say, go shoot him, but today's military operates by a satellite and ground radar. So this system ties into satellite radar and ground radar, and that VTRPE can paint a three-dimension battlefield image over land terrain from a ship 200 miles in the Atlantic or the Pacific.
All right, so you say originally it was done to get this three-dimensional battlefield imaging for warships and then for battlefields. Now, how does that translate into something that's going to be negative for our health, though?
You're using barium salt and other DARPA aerosols. You're primarily using a mixture of barium salts to make it work over land terrain adequately, accurately.
And there are some serious negative effects using barium, and, of course, a lot of that information is at carnicom.com. What else do you see as being a problem of doing? Now, you're saying that this was an allegedly somewhat innocuous program to try and just do battlefield imaging.
That's how it started. Then DARPA got into it, and other agencies got into it, and God only knows where it is now and what's coming out of those planes. You see, I tried to paint a picture hurriedly of the Iranian-Contra, which was a CIA operation, and this pretty much is a CIA Navy operation. You're dealing with people, you don't know who they are, they're not accountable to anybody, they're capable of dastardly things. You see, the American people are totally out of the loop. Their reality is based on their life experience. You see, the way you judge things and the way you process things, your opinions are based on your own life experience. Most people haven't had these experiences. I was sitting at a kitchen table with a person about a year ago that had retired from the CIA, and she said to me, they do something bad to us, we have to do something twice as bad to them. They do something 3 times as bad, we have to do something 4 times in order to survive and keep the country together and keep the people alive. And we turn into real bastards doing this, And the American people are not aware that is the reality of survival in this country, and they are very critical. There are no total black, total white. It's 1,000 shades of gray in between. And I dare say if some of the people or you or I were president of the United States and responsible for the lives of 300 million people, we would probably be doing the same things, and we would be criticized just like our government. There is no easy way to do these things. It's military is designed to kill and break. It's not designed to be politically correct.
Mm-hmm.
We're coming into difficult times. Our country is being taken away from us, and the people are allowing it because of political correctness. I want to mention, Joyce, I see I'm watching the clock.
Okay, well,
here.
we've got a 3-minute break, and we're going to come back and talk about. Give me the subject title so we can.
The Mysterious Booms.
The Mysterious Booms. We'll be right back. Our guest today is A.C. Griffith. You don't want to miss it. We'll be back in 3 minutes. Stay tuned.
There's something brewing, people know that things aren't right. We're in the dark, it's black as night. And when the ones who see the truth try to convey, they're ridiculed and turned away.
Is it conspiracy theory?
But now it's time for us to see we don't act, we won't be free. We must be brave or be a slave.
Wow.
The choice is yours, folks. Now, the powers that be use conspiracy theory to negate any good information that's out there. Does that mean that every conspiracy theory is a theory, or are there real conspiracies? I think we all know the answer to that one. Welcome back to the Monday edition of the Power Hour. This is Dave.
And Joyce. And our guest has been A.C. Griffith. And you talk about somebody who is being brave. He is exposing what he knows about this program called VTRPE. Now, for those of you who have been listening to the program, and I know you have been just absolutely hanging on every word, the program will be repeated tonight on Channel 152 Talk Radio. That's XM Talk Radio. We're talking to A.C. Griffith, who is associated with the National Security Agency. He had a top secret clearance. It was a cryptographic clearance. He's been associated with CIA operations. And the VTRPE that he just mentioned, there's going to be a document up on the website in just a little while. We are going to put up a document. It's some, I think, 61 pages. 61 pages, ladies and gentlemen. I cannot even understand it, but it is about the VTRPE program. I could not even find it on the Internet. It comes from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, the Air Force Institute of Technology. And I want to thank A.C. Griffith for being able to put this up on the website. You are going to want to get it. It definitely is a keeper. Put that in the save section. A.C. Griffith, we were talking about you were mentioning the mysterious booms. Let's talk about how that might be related.
The booms are occurring all over the United States and cities. The national media is not picking up and bringing it together. They're not presenting it as one thing. Each city, each TV station is calling it a mysterious boom, and they are saying essentially the same thing. It's strange, it's a sonic boom and so on, but we don't know what it is ultimately. It is the effect of Russian interferometer transmitters coming against America under the Energetics program. And that's what it is. It's the same energy waves that brought down the Challenger, the Columbia, and the Thrasher submarine and other aircraft in America. That's what's making the booms. It'll shake the ground. It's an earthquake, and you can hear the boom rolling across the city. It is actually the same systems that cause psychoenergetics that create mind dysfunction and dizziness in people. They are upping those programs against 300 million Americans and our land. That is the same systems that are causing the hurricanes, volcanoes, so on. They can hit our volcanoes, and we are in deep if that happens. They can bring our power grids down any second they want to and hold the power grids down as long as they want to out of Russia through the FSB.
Now, there are a lot of people that are talking about this mind control, this stalking program, basically stalking people's minds. And a lot of people have been coming forward wanting to get this information. I think Raven One is one of the excellent websites on this. Is this the kind of thing you're talking about when you talk about the psychoenergetics program?
You can actually insert another personality in the person and cut it off and on.
Wow.
You can take the leader of a country. You can take the Chief of Naval Operations or the Chairman of the Joint Chief, Peter Pace. You can take people like that and insert a different personality in them, cause them to behave any way you want them to, and then subtract it.
We're going to be right back. We've got a 1-minute, 10-second break. We'll be right back. We're finishing up this hour. We'll be beginning our third hour on the Power Hour. We'll be right back with A.C. Griffith to finish up. Stay tuned to the Power Hour.
This is the GCN Radio Network.
Broadcasting from the most confused, dumbed down, and manipulated nation on the face of the planet. With all the news they hope you never hear, this is the Power Hour! Okay, here we go, folks. Hour number 3 of today's daily exercise, and thinking outside of the cage is now in session. Begging America to take off the blinders. Understand that you've been lied to and manipulated. begging America to take off the blinders. Understand that you've been lied to and manipulated. We like to think of this program as a daily exercise in passing out brain brushes so you could stick them in your ears, scrub vigorously, and remove years of built-up propaganda. This is what you call a real no-spin zone, folks. What was it? Somebody sent us a T-shirt design with a picture of Bill O'Reilly. It says, "We distort, you comply." Yeah. Unbelievable. This is Dave Von Kleist.
And Joyce Riley says, Bill O'Reilly. That's what I like about it. Anyway, welcome back to Power Hour. We've been having a very powerful hour with our guest today, A.C. Griffith. Now, the initials, again, if you want to go to the Internet, check it out yourself. If you want to do some research, it's VTRPE. The article will be up at the Power Hour News section. Thank you, Wanda, for getting that up there. We've been talking about the purpose of aerosol crimes. I have more respect than you can imagine, A.C. Griffith, for your work, your research, and for your coming forward. This is something that we need to inspire other people to do, and we do appreciate the articles in the brown manila envelopes, the documents in the brown vanilla envelopes that come to the Power Hour, so we can bring to you what we know to be the most truthful of any information out there. And I just have to add, what can we do, sir? What is there out there to overcome this, to defeat this, to expose this? Do you believe that a military coup is going to be the answer, sir?
First, let me answer a question you asked me some minutes ago. To oversimplify, for the sake of understanding the general category, a scalar wave, a scalar weapon, produces something that you can perceive like a gravitational wave. It's not an RF wave, it's a gravitational wave, if anything, for the sake of understanding. There's nothing that we can do to prevent this from occurring. Israel has protected us for several years. God bless Israel. They have put their existence on the line with their weapon systems, and there are quite a few stories that will make your hair curl. As we make it through each day, we should give thanks to God that we've made it another day. There are no guarantees. Most of the conversation I hear on the Internet and on the radio is foolishness. What I've told you is true. If you've noticed, I'm not selling anything. In fact, I didn't want to do this for years and years, and here I am because it's time. It's time to speak out. It's time to be doing things. And through Joyce's patience and tolerance of me, here I am today. Everything I've said to you is true. I have not distorted or lied about anything that we've discussed here. The mysterious booms, it can bring cities down. They can bring our cities down anytime they want to. Of course, they will be taken out also, and that's the only deterrent. That's the only deterrent. The missile systems, the missile protection systems are not as they have been presented to you. They are Tesla domes over cities, over territories. It is part of this scalar systems that afford protection from incoming missiles. It is not shooting a missile up. God only knows where all the money went to that was put into making the American people believe we were building missiles to go up and shoot down enemy missiles.
Wow, this is most enlightening.
We believe that Francis Gary Powers back in the early 60s was taken down by a variation of these systems out of Russia, by the way.
Wow. A.C. Griffith, we thank you very much. I'd love to have you come back on the program, if you will, and take questions from the listeners, because we didn't have a chance to do that. A.C. Griffith, we salute you. Thank you for coming on the Power Hour today.
Thank you, Joyce.
Wow.
Incredible.
We're going to change to Himalayan salt. Everything has frequencies. And did you know that salt has frequencies for the good? Did you know that there is something inside salt that can be absolutely, unbelievably satisfying to your body? We're going to talk to our guest in this next hour on the subject of Himalayan salt. It's more interesting than you can imagine. We'll be right back. 3 minutes. Stay tuned.